and welcome to the TLC Designs YouTube channel. My name is Lynn, or LV Handcrafted, here on YouTube, and today I am crafting with some of the latest April release from TLC Designs, and I am starting off with this amazing stencil. This is the Gerber Springtime stencil, and as with all of the TLC Design stencils, you're not just getting the one stencil design, you're getting multiple designs. So built into the 6x6 stencil, you'll find this large Gerber daisy background, but along two of the edges, there's also different border designs that you can use as well. The portion that I won't be using is a little bit more Easter themed. It's got some Easter eggs on there, but I will be using the bottom portion, which has a nice polka dot design. And here you can see I'm stenciling with the single color of yellow, but I have some flowers that are darker and some flowers that are lighter. And that's because I go directly in with a well-inked stencil brush for the darker areas, and then with whatever's left over, whatever ink is left over, I'll stencil another area, and that gives me the lighter touches of yellow. That way, my stenciled background has just a little bit more interest, and also if you don't have multiple different shades of a single color, that's another way of getting a little bit more interest with just a single ink pad. And similarly with the green centers, I've tried to lightly stencil in the center of the daisies, but then I inked up really well my stencil brush and then just kind of did a little bit of a dab, and that adds some texture and dimension because these stencil brushes, or this one that I'm using here, they have bristles, and so it's not a sponge brush, it's actually a bristle brush. So all of those individual bristles kind of add a little bit of that texture, which is really great. And right now at the bottom here, I'm working on that polka dot border that I mentioned earlier. And I brought out a smaller stencil brush so that I can really get into those really small areas. And it's nice to have different size brushes for this reason, so that you can really get into all of the little areas. There's just so much detail in this pattern. Even in between the daisies, there are those small, they're kind of really nice, irregular polka dots. It's really lovely. And I don't mind that some of the polka dots are yellow, some of the polka dots are green. I like that color variation. Now, sometimes you can get a second kind of panel that's a little bit lighter, but when you go to clean off your stencil, usually it's better to use maybe a baby wipe when you're doing that. I didn't get much off because I basically, since I did, I guess you could consider it maybe second generation stenciling, where I essentially cleaned off my brush when I went to stencil in those lighter daisy flowers. So there wasn't a ton of ink on the stencil itself when I went to go clean it. So I've got all of these elements. I've die cut some of the daisy die cuts from, there's actually two different daisy dies that have released, and they are wonderful. They have the flower itself as one die, and then the second die cuts out the center of the flower. They are a little bit different. So the one I'm using today has solid petals, and the other daisy die design actually it cuts out the center of the petals, so you get more of an outline look. Both are really, really lovely. I thought for this one, because the background that I stenciled is has a lot of white area, I wanted to have more solid looking flowers for my focal image. And so I've glued my panel. That panel that I was inking onto is the full US A2 card front size, so 4¼ by 5½. So I've gone ahead and attached that to my card base. And I inked up some white color cardstock with the exact same yellow and green inks that I used on my background. And that way I don't have to look for a solid color cardstock that coordinates or matches. I can make my own cardstock and die cut from it. And I did the exact same thing where I inked a portion so that it's very dark, and I inked a portion so that it's a little bit lighter. So it almost seems like I have two different yellow inks, two different yellow cardstocks, but really all of that was made from the exact same ink pad. And I did also pull out this, this is the second smallest die from the Daisy frame die set. Couldn't help but to use some more of the Daisy products from previously released dies from TLC Designs. And as well, I thought the You Are My Sunshine sentiment would work really well on this card. So I've gone ahead and stamped that out with the same yellow ink that I stenciled and used also to create my colored cardstock. And I'm going to attach these just with a 1/2" glue dot in the center of the flowers. And that does leave the petals to be a little bit raised or lifted. That does make them a little bit susceptible to being kind of torn. So when you go to send this, you might want to put it in between two layers of cardstock so that as they're sliding it out of the envelope, it doesn't snag on anything. But I just like even though I'm not really doing any flower shaping, which you could do with these, I still like to have the petals a little bit kind of free and not completely and flatly glued down to the card. And so I'm going to also raise up the sentiment, which I just cut a little bit of that sort of slanted banner. And I will lift that up with a little bit of foam just to add a little bit more dimension, also because part of it is going to go over or overlap my flowers. And so that just adds a little bit more dimension to the card. And really, really love all of these. Daisies are my favorite flowers, so I love this new collection that's come out. And I haven't used it on today's card, but there is also a daisy background stamp, which is really pretty. So I definitely want to craft with that next too, because that's also gorgeous. And as I mentioned, there is a second set of daisy dies, which is really gorgeous. Just a slightly different design, which is a little bit more kind of like an abstract because it's more of the outline of the daisies. So that's another fun one that I can't wait to craft with as well. So the last finishing touch on this will be to add some Nuvo drops. These are pre-made drops that I have. Sometimes I make extra and have some leftovers for a project, but I saw one that looked great. It's a glitter drop, in fact, but I didn't have enough pre-mades, so I'll just go ahead and go direct to my project. This is a glitter drop called Spring Frost, and I like it because it's got some glitter in it that has a touch of yellow as well as a touch of green, so I think that just works really, really well with the color palette here. So here's a close-up look at my card. I love this new collection, love all the daisies, and the stencil is just so gorgeous. I hope that you like my project today as well. Leave me comments in the video below and let me know what you think. Thanks so much. Until next time, happy crafting and have a fantastic day. Bye.